Hey guys, what's up? So today I'm here to talk about my thoughts on Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. This is the final book on the Infernal Devices trilogy. If you haven't read the book, I'm sorry, but this is a spoiler full review or thoughts or rant. So if you don't want to be spoiled, leave now and keep going with your life with no emotional pain from this book. How do I even start? This whole book was so heartbreaking. The prologue made me unstable, and we finally get to know what Tessa really is. She's the daughter of a shadow hunter and a demon, but her mother didn't have the marks, so she didn't die while she was a baby, and she had the angel that protected her life and in the womb. And all this book was a roller coaster of I am crying, I'm not crying, I'm crying, I'm not crying. And that was me all day today and yesterday. I was scared to start this book because I had been spoiled that Jem died, but he didn't die. And I was like, what? Because in my version of the book, you open up here, the first thing you get is the family trees, and that's spoilers. The book spoiled itself. Who the hell thought it was okay to put the family trees in the first page before the story? And I see this in the family trees. James Casters, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, I'm sorry, Jam, but there is no date of death. There is no year of death, and I'm like, what? Did Magnus turn him into a vampire? Did something happen? What? He was supposed to die, wasn't he? And I didn't believe the family tree. I started reading it, and the first chapter was talking about how Will and Jem got to know each other, and the first day they met, and I'm like, no, Cassandra Clare, you're not doing that to me. You're not breaking my heart in the first chapter. And I was like tearing up and everything because Jem means so much to me. And the way Jem and Will relate to each other and their bond, they are not just friends or best friends or anything. They're parabatai. I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. I read it in Portuguese, but you know what I mean. They're really special and magical bond. And Jem was the only person Will got to open up to. And there is no life for Will without Jem. But then Jem is the one that stays alive in the end, and I'm so confused because I thought Jem was dying, but I was so happy that Jem was not dying. And every scene in this book was heartbreaking because there was the love triangle and the fact that Jem might die and sort of was dead for them because they didn't know he wasn't actually dead. And when Tessa was happy with Jem, she thought about Will, and when she was kind of happy with Will, she thought about Jem, and she really did love both of them. And what I liked the most about this series is that because it is in the 1800s, the women are supposed to behave some way. And when Tessa gets in this new world of the Shadowhunters, they are much more evolved and they treat women with respect much more than the other humans. So Tessa's like, that's my heart and it's not yours, it's my heart, and I love whoever I love, and I will choose and I will love you both. And that made me so happy because Tessa in the first book she was like, oh my god, a lady should never behave like that. But then with Charlotte's figure and the whole way the Shadowhunters are, she realized that they were evolved and the way they were thinking was right, not the way that the world was thinking. And she really saw the Shadowhunters as a whole new species because they are so different in culture, in every way. And they have magic and stuff, but the way they treat each other was the most shocking thing for her. My thoughts in the love triangle are that Will got to live a full and happy life with Tessa, and no matter if she was with Jem, and she was engaged and she loved Jem. She was with Will, and there is no guilt on that for me because she knows that her happiness is what Jem would want and what is most important for her. And also, she being with Will, Will had a terrible life. For 5 years, he had the worst curse. He couldn't love his mother without thinking she would die. He had to leave his family. He couldn't love his best friend without thinking he wouldn't be the cause of his death, but a disease, an addiction that couldn't be cured, and that's worse than death. And Tessa couldn't have known that there was a curse or something, and she chose what she thought was right, and she chose to be engaged with Jem. And Jem is the one that had a cursed life, a whole lot of years. He lived 5 years waiting for his death and expecting that each moment would be his last, and he had to enjoy it and be with the woman he loved, and he had no idea Will loved her as well. And still he wouldn't have gotten engaged with her if he knew that Will was in love with her. And then he lived more cursed years because he became a silent brother that felt nothing. And when he woke up from being a silent brother, he felt like it was a dream, more like a nightmare. He was healthy, but he didn't really have a life. And meanwhile, Tessa and Will were having their lives, their children, but Tessa is immortal and Will is not. And Will died, and Cassandra Clare showed us a lot of how he died and how their life was happy, and I cried. And Tessa had to live so many years alone as well because everyone she knew was going to die. The only person she could count on was Magnus, and he was the only one immortal, and he was the one helping her to get through Will's death, which was so heartbreaking for her because obviously she loved Will with all her heart, and it was like a piece of her died as well. And a piece of her had already died when her Jem wasn't her Jem because he was a silent brother and he didn't feel. But she still met with him and he wasn't the same person. And it's like, Alzheimer's. You are there in physical form, but you aren't you. But then there were all these years that Tessa was alone and she moved on with her life. When you see a movie that someone has to get over someone else's death and you are like, no, it's okay, that person would want you to be happy. Why shouldn't that apply to Tessa as well? Just because it was a chapter earlier, why wouldn't you want Tessa to be happy? Because it's been so many years and she did already love Jem, and Jem is cured, and he's one person that she loves and she knows that she can count on him, and he's there and he's cured and he's full of life, and she has already experienced love and marriage and all of that, and she knows that it's worth it being with someone. She knows it's not immortal as well, but all these little moments are worth it. And I thought it was such a beautiful conclusion to the series because Tessa did love both of them and she got to be with them in different periods of her life because she was a different person when she was with Jem than she was when she was with Will, and both of those times she was happy and they were happy, and that's all that matters. And basically I just really loved this book. The part where I was sobbing the most was when Jem was saying goodbye to them when he was a silent brother, and he knew that maybe he wasn't going to be the same person and he wouldn't feel the same way, so that was his last chance to say it all and say how much they meant to him. And I love James so much, and I was sobbing and I was trying to control myself because everyone is asleep. I was trying not to cry so loudly, but I was just holding my mouth so no sound would escape, but it was a fail and I cried so hard. And the part where we see that Jam is a silent brother and the hood dropped and there was Jam. And he fought beside Will just like the old times, and Tessa was trying to get to him, but then there was all that mess and the conclusion and Tessa turning into an angel. And whoa, was I the only one who thought that Heavenly Fire, City of Heavenly Fire? I don't know, that maybe Jam will be cured on City of Heavenly Fire because the Mortal Instruments are in 2007, right? And when Tess and Will and Jam meet, it's 2008, and I think that Jam will be cured on City of Heavenly Fire, and I haven't even read the Mortal Instruments, so I need to get on that right now. And the most heartbreaking part was that when they saw Jam was alive and he was a silent brother, and after all that mess and after everything turned out to be okay, they were expecting him to say something and he turned his back and left. And I thought that was more hurtful than Jam dying, so I was just sobbing because Jam was not the same person, and for me that's worse than death. But then he got cured and I'm so happy. But that part, I still am not over it. I think I will never be over it. But I'm so glad he was cured and that he got to be with Tessa in a part of his life, and he got his happy ending because he deserves it. I loved the conclusion of the series, but it's not quite a conclusion, is it? Because I haven't read the Mortal Instruments and stuff, but the title is City of Heavenly Fire, and Jam is alive during the Mortal Instruments, and he is a silent brother, so he is in City of Heavenly Fire and all the others, isn't he? I know that there is Brother Zachariah in the Mortal Instruments, right? I'm sorry I haven't read the Mortal Instruments yet, but it's on my top TBR. And I really think that Jam will be cured on City of Heavenly Fire because he talks about all that shit that's going down in 2008 and the Mortal Instruments is in 2007. I really need more Jam in my life. My biggest problem with City of Bones was Cassandra Clare's writing in that time. I didn't really like it, but now she has improved a lot and I think I really will enjoy a lot more City of Bones now. And I'm really excited for the new series in the Shadowhunter world because I really love this world building and everything, and I just hope there is some flashes of the characters we already know because I can't get enough of them. The most important thing on the Infernal Devices, in my point of view, was the characters. And I just fell in love with all of them and all their storylines. Sophie and Gideon, Gabriel and Cecily, and Will, and Tessa and Jam, and Charlotte and Henry. Oh, and just another thing, when I saw the family trees and I saw that Tessa and Will named their kid James, I was bawling and I hadn't even begun reading the book because I thought Jam died in this book and I was bawling and it wasn't pretty. But yeah, I guess that's what I have to say about Clockwork Princess. If you're still here, you deserve a cookie and everything in the world because I talk a lot. Thank you so much for watching and let me know what you thought of Clockwork Princess down in the comments. And if you agree with me on the City of Heavenly Fire stuff, but don't spoil me on the Mortal Instruments because I haven't read those yet.